growing concerns about the deadly coronavirus.
The coronavirus is the biggest threat this country has faced for decades.
Breaking news, stay at home. That is the order tonight from...
We will be denying entry to Canada.
A travel ban will be placed on all non-residents, non-Australians.
I recently realized that I've lived and worked in 6 countries over the past year and a half. And I didn't even quite realize that it was that high. It just sort of happened. So this is called remote work or being a digital nomad. It's people who don't have a physical location, like an office that they have to go into every day. So in today's video, I'm gonna explain exactly what I do, how I do it, and toward the end of the video, I'm gonna give you some tips. But before we get into any of that, let's start with the first place I was in, which was Bali, Indonesia. This was at the beginning of the pandemic, February, March, and it was really crazy because at the time, only China was really heavily impacted by COVID-19. And at the time, no one could have ever imagined the tables would turn and the rest of the world would be so impacted. I was in Bali and I was working from Bali, even though my apartment was in Hong Kong. And I just remember thinking like, I'm not going back to Hong Kong. I'm gonna stay in Bali until COVID-19 is over. Bali is an amazing place, by the way, especially for remote workers and digital nomads. I'll do a whole separate video about that. At the time of this video, it is going through a lockdown right now, but hopefully things will improve and hopefully it will reopen for tourists later this year. Bali is my #1 choice for remote work. I highly recommend you consider going there when the time is right. So in mid-March of 2020, things started to get actually quite bad in Bali and in Indonesia. So I quickly rushed back to Hong Kong, where I was in Hong Kong for about 4 months. This was really hard for me because I had never stayed in Hong Kong more than a couple weeks. Hong Kong was going in and out of lockdowns, but for the most part, it was a pretty good place to be at the start of the pandemic. It was quite isolating, however, not being able to travel, because if you've been to Hong Kong, you know that it's one of the most dense places on earth. As fun as it is to visit, you also kind of want to leave after a couple days or especially a couple weeks. So there was this moment where I booked a one-way flight and came to the US. So now we're in August 2020. I spent 6 months in the United States. I was in California back with my friends, family, and that's when I decided to launch content. That's when I decided I was gonna launch my YouTube channel. I started having a lot of fun with TikTok and really pushing out my Facebook and Instagram accounts as well. Even though COVID-19 was going crazy in the US, it was relatively a good place to be because the weather is nice in California and it's pretty spacious, California. I mean, it's not like Hong Kong or New York. So even though there were a lot of lockdowns, gyms were closed, indoor dining was closed, you have beaches, you have hikes, you have like backyards, people have backyards. And so I didn't really feel that it was that challenging to be in California during COVID-19. Despite all that, I was really craving a change. And so I booked a one-way flight for February 1st to go to Dubai. I spent over a month in Dubai, got to meet a lot of people. Dubai is a really amazing place right now because Dubai reopened more than a year ago now. And one of the reasons that it was able to do that is because it has one of the highest vaccination rates in the world. Its median age is only like 32 or 33, meaning that the population is relatively young so that it can afford to take some more risks, as opposed to like Italy, where it has a large population, they have to stay locked down a lot more often. Dubai is also really good because it's amazing, the people you meet. There are a lot of initiatives right now, especially for digital video creators. I highly recommend spending some time in Dubai. Country number 5 was Turkey. I was originally gonna go to Turkey for 1 week. I really fell in love with it. I also got COVID while I was in Turkey. Hey, I've been in 6 countries over the past year and a half. I think it would be quite shocking if I didn't get COVID in one of these countries. So overall, Turkey was weird because it was heavily locked down while I was there. It was also quite cold. But having said that, I wouldn't trade it for anything because it was such a unique experience. Usually Turkey is a very vibrant country with people, you know, a very amazing energy in Turkey, but obviously I didn't get to experience that same Turkey, but at the same time, it was very memorable. It's a trip that I'll never forget. Also partially because I was one of the only non-locals that I saw, you know, day by day. I didn't see any other tourists, and in a way that was kind of cool because you get to experience a place much more authentically than being surrounded by a lot of other tourists. While I was in Turkey, I made some videos about the currency and how it was down about 10% to the US dollar. A lot of you guys commented, that's nothing, come to Lebanon. So sure enough, I actually went to Lebanon. Originally, it was just gonna be for 1, maybe 2 weeks. I ended up staying in Lebanon for more than 2 months. months. I did a lot of reporting on the currency crisis. Check out those videos if you haven't seen them already. I really hope things improve there. After Lebanon, I went back to Dubai for a bit, and now I'm back in the United States. I don't really know where I'm going next. For now, I'm just living in the moment and taking it all in. But before I go, I do want to share some tips and tricks for if you are considering to do remote work. I actually wrote this article for CNBC very recently about it. You can check that out as well. Tip number one is spend at least 1 month in a location. Before the pandemic, I had gone to Turkey for 3 nights, I had gone to London for 2 nights, and that sounds crazy to me. I would never want to travel like that again. Right now, I like to spend at least 1 month, usually 2 or even 3 months in a place and really get to know the place, get to unpack and settle in. Have a few go-to restaurants, join a gym, things like that. Feel like I'm living there, feel like I'm part of the community, not like I'm a tourist. So I highly recommend that if you do decide to do remote work, do not rush it. The second one I'll say is to join a co-working space. I did this in Turkey. I tried to do it in Lebanon, but I couldn't find any, but I definitely did it in Dubai. The benefit of joining a co-working space is you'll be surrounded by like-minded people, usually entrepreneurs, usually people who, have some flexibility in their work. Usually it's a lot of younger people who are easy to meet and get to know. Number 3, I would say, is commit to daily routines. So think about it. There's gonna be a lot of changes coming from your routine. Maybe you were living at home before, you had your family, your parents. So because there are gonna be a lot of changes, you need to make sure you have your daily routines, whether it's morning gym, meditation, journaling, whatever it is for you. Like, make sure you're continuing to do your routines because you are going to want to feel grounded in something. Last but not least, you can use so many apps to meet people. It also depends on the country. If you go to Lebanon, you'll meet anyone from the cashiers at the grocery store to people at cafes. But aside from that, I definitely recommend, meeting people on Instagram. I've met so many other people on Instagram, especially other creators and video creators. Also, a lot of my friends meet people on apps like Tinder. So definitely get social, and sometimes also even just checking in on Facebook and saying, hey, I've just arrived to Istanbul. You'll see that some of your friends, maybe you haven't talked to them in a couple years, will actually message you and say, oh, you're in Turkey, you gotta sync up with my friend so-and-so. People will introduce you to their friends. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Check out some of my videos about should you visit Turkey, should you visit Lebanon. While you're at it, let me know in the comments, do you think you'll be doing remote work anytime soon? There is supposedly going to be a surge of digital nomads coming out of this pandemic. So I'm curious, is this lifestyle right for you? Subscribe to my channel and find me on Instagram and TikTok at Uptin.